I'm Christian, CEO of Blockzeug. And I quickly need to, come on, everybody that's still at the back of the room, come in, there's free seats, feel free to join. It's gonna be interesting. Good. So before I actually tell you a little bit about tokenization and how you can tokenize securities in Germany and the European Economic Area, I need a quick show of hands. So who in this room has owned or owns currently Bitcoin? Okay. So for the ones that don't see it, it's roughly 30–40%. Very good. Who has the faintest idea what you can do with tokenization? Okay, so now we're dropping down to 5–10% of the room. Very good. So there is something that we can explore. So third and most important question before we get started: who knows Asterix and Obelix, the comic? Okay. It's not exactly 50% of the room, so there is some potential. Watch that on YouTube after my quick presentation, because we're going to get back to that. The title is Permit A38, and that's a scene from Asterix and Obelix conquering Rome. Why that is very important, I'm going to get back to in a second. So first of all, anybody has an idea what a bond is and how a bond works? Okay, good. So 1% of the room. Basically, everyone is lending me money, and then I'm taking the money, I'm investing it, for example, in real estate, and then I'm gonna pay you back a certain amount of percentage per month, and in the end, you get back your principal. So that is how a bond works. So please leave all your money after the speech at the stage, and we can do something nice with it. The problem is, up to this point, it always wasn't possible to transfer these bonds in between parties without a central intermediary. So sticking with the real estate example, it's impossible right now in most of the EU countries to transfer ownership of real estate automatically or through in a digitized way. You need a deed record, and you can't do that without a public notary. So what you can do is, and this is what most people that own assets do, they either create a fund or a bond in order to sell or acquire certain assets. So I quickly spoke about how does a bond actually work. There is a couple of differentiations that's not even that important. There's equity, you own stock in a company. There's debt, bond is a debt, and there's mezzanine financing instruments that, for example, revenue participation note, you have participation in the earnings, and you also participate in the losses. So this is what a bond looks like today. It's rather complicated, but I'm not going to explain the whole thing, but rather try to break it down and dump it down a bit to the most important aspects. So first of all, we have now a security token bond. There is a lot of legislation that's been passed recently where you are now able to create a security token that entitles the owners first to ownership in a certain asset and enables them to transfer it freely. So you have an issuer, making this whole complex picture before a little bit more accessible. You have investors, you have a regulator. All of these three parties have interests in a security bond. So you have gatekeepers and intermediaries. That would be, for example, us, lawyers, etc. Gatekeepers are KYC. You need to verify customers that are trying to acquire such a security token. You have exchanges where you can list it. In Germany itself, you can even assign a ISIN number, so that means it's also freely tradable on standard stock markets. And you have payment providers that enable you to also process transactions in fiat money. So let's make it a little bit more accessible. This is a real example. A house in Hamburg was sold for 2.96 million. There was 547 investors that have been investing in it. So in the traditional way, you have to take into account regulatory sounding. That means you need to go through the hoops and jump through the hoops with the regulators, structuring a lot of prospectus, and you need to abide by a lot of legislation. You have a lot of costs in issuance. You need to pay banks that actually distribute everything, and you have a central depository and clearance. That also costs you a lot of money. So you have, in total, for this example, you had more than 100K in costs. So that represented around 3.7% of the issuance volume. Now, this whole thing, that was a theoretical calculation, how it's been done in the past. Now, with a blockchain application, you can basically break it down to a fraction of the cost. So first of all, we have 5,000 euros for a token contract. You need whitelisting and distribution. You have the wallet costs that are on an annual basis, and still it costs you not even 1% in the same issuing volume. So basically, the issuer, in this case, it was the guys selling the real estate, saved 76% on the whole process. So there is something, I hope you can still read it. It basically says how to guide tokenizing financial instruments. This is the how-to guide. And it really was a little bit like that when we did it the first time 9 months ago in Germany.
Number 838! Here, there's no need to shout. What manners? Where do you think you are, by Jupiter? Appliance window number 1, left-hand corridor, last door on the right.
What is your business?
We just want a copy of permit number A38.
You have been misdirected. You have to apply at window number 2.
Next door to this one?
No, that one is window 8. I can't remember where they put number 2. Ask them at the desk.
This is the plan.
Can't make it out at all.
Oh, no, here it is. Window number 1 is on the ground floor, first corridor on the right. Permit A38.
Fill in this form and then you'll be able to get the pink form.
What pink form?
The one you need in order to get permit A38. Window 12, the second floor, staircase B, corridor J.
So that was me at the end of the process when we did it for the first time. I gained 15 pounds during the process, until we actually figured out how to speak to regulators, in this case BaFin in Germany, and do something that has not been done before. So we had a lot of conference calls where they actually just couldn't refuse our interpretation of the law anymore, and hence gave us a go to tokenize.
We want a copy of permit number 8.
Thank you. So this is the plan, and there is actually an equivalent to what the German regulator was issuing. It looks a little bit like this. So there is 3 sections in this whole paper, and it's a one-pager, but it's a complex one-pager. So this should be your guide in order to tokenize a financial instrument in Germany. So I'm not going into too much details, but first of all, you have a lot of red tape in terms of the structure of the prospect, what kind of financial data you have to provide. You have to check and cross-check several legal codes, because it depends completely on the classification of your instrument, what kind of legal codes apply. And then they also tell you exactly how you need to do the submission. So the paper needs to be submitted to BaFin in a certain way. There needs to be all the documents present. And then they have basically the delivery, which says we have 21 days in order to respond, but then we're going to start asking questions, and we're going to start challenging your idea or product. So we did that. We sent a lot of legal memos to the client. We finally sent an investment draft with terms and conditions to our client, on behalf of our client, to BaFin. In the end, we got a response. It took us 9 months for the first time. And we have the stamp, which is the only thing, the no action letter, that says you can actually do what you say that you will do in the future. So bottom line is, we worked 9 months for these 2 pages. And now there is a new standard in Germany that allows you, and it will be coming into effect in 2020, so next year, that allows you to fully digitize bonds already, which is an awesome thing because we are a little bit of a front runner finally in the crypto space, not behind Switzerland and the other guys. So bottom line is, it's a step-by-step process. You have to iterate a lot. It's, first of all, the decision what instrument you need or want for your specific use case that determines all the rest. And in the end, if you've done everything right, you can actually have a token issue that, which is fully tradable, which can be listed in exchanges, and then I, with my cell phone, can just send it to somebody else with their cell phone without an intermediary. So there's a lot of, that's the legal code. So this is like legal books that we had to cross-reference and check which might apply. And that's also what BaFin did with us. So the components are, first of all, you need a digital representation. You can't tokenize anything that requires paper, meaning, for example, the deed record in real estate, you can't transfer that easily. There is, however, a workaround now. And you need custodian solutions, you need the business market makers and depository. So on a very high level, this is what we learned from the whole process. So you have an investor. The investor has a bank account. You have on the other side a SPV. It's a so-called special purpose vehicle. No need to go into that. If you're interested in that, talk to me later. The SPV has a bank account, the investor has a bank account, and now we basically produced a solution in the middle that allows you to freely transact, for example, €1,000 worth of real estate between parties. So this is the general process. We have a very stringent process now of onboarding clients in order to actually make sure that everybody achieves regulatory sounding and gets the one stamp from the German regulator. That also then enables you to passport the instrument across the European Union, European Economic Area. So Switzerland is out of the question for now, but we're going to get there.
Christian, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, that's good. So I'm actually in time. This is very good. So here we have EEA-wide applicable, it's called Wertpapier Security Prospectus. So now I'm able for €6.55 to talk to each individual regulator in each country and make them take my English version of the prospectus, and then I'm able to freely sell and trade that security. It's a fraction of traditional costs. You can transfer and trade it freely, plus you're speaking to a whole new segment of investors. The most interesting part is that the applications we have right now is not so much in the smaller cap investors, where you have the fractional ownership of, we have €1,000 worth of real estate, but rather in large funds trying to get some diversification. So they are mixing in instruments such as these in order to diversify and basically jump on the bandwagon with Bitcoin stability or crypto stability. So this is basically what it looks like. We have a platform that we can also host and list these instruments. And now we are production ready since we got our BaFin approval and know how to do it. So if you ever want to tokenize your car, your house, or anything furniture-wise within your living room, go talk to me, go talk to Sebastian, who's the CTO of Blockzeug. And yeah, we're happy to chat later on with you.
Are you based in Germany?
We are based in Berlin and New York, but predominantly Berlin now, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So, any questions at all?
Yes. From me, I was the first one with the microphone.
Of course. He's not getting the mic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christian. Really nice presentation. So one of I think, third or fourth slide you had, where you spoke about adding an ISIN to the token to make it bankable.
Yes.
Way in the beginning. So my question to you is, how did you guys solve it in Germany?
There is something called Besitzmittlungsverhältnis. So you basically have to make sure, so if I have if you owe me money and I try to sell that obligation to a third party, you need to make sure that the party who initially issued the obligation is out of the picture, because otherwise I pay you back, but actually I need to pay him back because you sold the obligation. So this is something you need to have inbuilt in a token standard, same as whitelisting. And that's what's now possible by just manipulating the ERC standard. Okay. So it's called a signature chain.
Right. But then adding an ISIN to the token, you can basically make it available through a regular broker.
Absolutely. And the funniest thing is we have Börse Stuttgart with Euwax that can list the tokens. However, the banks that I spoke to, they don't even want that, because the moment it has an ISIN, they say the whole KYC, AML thing is on their side. So they need to then basically structure it within their given ecosystem, and that's a whole beast in itself. So they try to avoid it like a dog cold water.
They're going to lose.
let's see. I'm not in a position to actually judge that, so I'm very, very looking forward to the innovations in the financial tech space that will arise from that.
Thank you.
Thanks.